Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to some more Counter-Strike action. Today on the docket, we have ECL South America Season 47. It's Pineapple Phillips and Laz to bring you the action this time around. Laz, how are you doing on this fine Saturday?
Yeah, doing all right, man. We were just talking about the weather. I'm out in Canada. Things are starting to get a little bit warmer. The igloos are starting to melt a little bit, but it's good. It's good so far, and I think it's pretty nice over where you are right now, so I'm a little bit jealous about the weather.
Yeah, it's a lovely Saturday, I would say. It's a nice 80 where I'm at in California, so a very lovely day outside, but we are inside to watch some exciting Counter-Strike action. Again, as I mentioned, ECL Season 47 for South America. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings heading into this matchup. It is about the midway point, maybe in the later stages of this season, so we do have a lot to catch up on. A lot of teams playing their games, some teams catching up, and there are some pretty clear leaders thus far in the standings for this season.
No, definitely, right? I mean, we have the matchup just below, you guys can see, and this is where, like you talked about, it's a lot about catch up. This is a lot about teams that are kind of getting their last matches finished, before playoffs and everything like that. But that's going to be a big thing, and we'll get that, that overall standings here to show you guys a little bit about where these two teams are at. But it's a very interesting lineup just because these guys have played each other before in the past. It's been close games before as well. So that's kind of the one interesting piece, is that there is some history, but I think a lot has changed for both these teams from the beginning of the season to where we are now. And there it is. So we can finally see a little bit. You can see on the left, we have, Fluxo kind of sitting in themselves in a 15-5, which is just pretty nuts to kind of put in perspective. And then, with Imperial with a 14-2, but Galorys right now sitting on the left-hand side with a 9-11, where they are going to be taking down Solid or playing against Solid, which is going to be a very, very interesting matchup.
Yeah, we're watching two mid to, I don't want to say lower, but mid average tier teams in this season of ECL in South America. As we mentioned, Imperial and Fluxo are by far and away those two front runners. Fluxo 15-5, Imperial 14-2. Those are kind of my benchmarks heading into talking about maps, for example. So keep those two teams at the forefront of your mind. But as you mentioned, we're watching Galorys versus Team Solid. Galorys, an okay record this far, slightly negative at 9-11. So 9 wins and 11 losses. It is, again, 2 best of 1s against every team. It's not a best of 2, it's 2 best of 1. So if you split them, your record will be 1-1. If you win them both, it'll be 2-0. So Galorys just below that 50-50 at 9-11. And unfortunately for Team Solid, a little bit below that at a very difficult 5-11. So actually below a 2-1 loss to win ratio. So a very difficult start for them in the season, but hopefully a chance to rebound against some higher ranked opponents in this one.
No, definitely. And that's the thing too. What's really interesting, you talk about, these teams are kind of in that mid-tier range, maybe a little bit lower, just despite with the 9-11 and 5-11 records. But that's the thing about even a team like Solid, even the beginning of their season, all these matches were very, very close. We're talking 13-11 losses, or a 19-15 win, or 16-14 losses, things like that. These were very, very close games. And then it's only kind of recently where I feel like they went on this kind of downward slope where they started kind of struggling, against teams like MIBR, teams like Imperial. But like we said, when you look on the standings here, it makes a lot of sense, right? These are some of the top teams in the whole overall division. So they're not really there against those top competitors, but they're doing decent kind of in that mid range, but they just can't seem to get the win column in their favor.
Yeah, I suppose there's kind of a clear divide in the standings where I mentioned those top 2, but specifically the top 4 seem to be thriving it down to the Amigos, and then after Sharks and below is where the kind of the scrappiness, the mosh pit really begins, because Sharks are at a 10-10 record, technically 5th, as I mentioned, but still definitely in the muck, definitely in the running against any of those other teams at the lower standings in the overall setting of ECL. I don't want to say the bracket because it's not a bracket; it's a round robin. Everybody plays everyone, so. Again, very scrappy, very fun in that way. Let's get into the actual head-to-head of this one, though, because Solid and Galorys, teams not necessarily known to us in North America so intimately, don't know the players necessarily. Let's go ahead and pick those players apart and talk about exactly what these teams are made of.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think, there's going to be some players that we definitely want to look out for. Players that we definitely think, overall statistically should be the ones that should be thriving a little bit better in this. But I mean, we'll get that pulled up here for you in just in a few moments. But I think, when we talk about overall ratings and everything like that, Galorys are definitely sitting in a better position with their overall ratings. Everybody essentially is over that 1.05 rating. I think Ninjas was kind of sitting at that 0.92, 0.93. So he wasn't over 1.0, but still a decent record. And everything else, for everybody else is doing quite well with like a 1.5 plus, where I think that's a pretty big difference. And when you switch things over for, players on solid, it's definitely not the same case. And it kind of seems like it's a little bit more of a mixture, a 0.97 here and there, maybe like a 0.96 for some of these players. And that does make a difference, right?
Yeah, we'll hop into that actual player and team composition now. Talking specifically, when you talked about Galorys, you mentioned everybody across the board kind of doing some good work. Ninjas is the one lagging individually at a 0.92 HLTV rating in the last 3 months. Specifically, though, Hoax and Koala are two very solid players. They kind of are almost even. They have like a 0.1 ADR discrepancy between the two. Koala has a higher HLTV rating of 1.15 compared to 1.06 of Hoax, but still, when you look at the impact, it's reversed. Hoax has a 1.15 impact, whereas Koala has a 1.08 impact. So those two are kind of going head to head, playing together as a duo, really having the impact the team needs. It's not the same as you mentioned for Solid, where they have one player kind of standing at the forefront above head and shoulders the rest of the team. That is GBB. He's sitting at a 1.16 HLTV rating, a 1.20 impact in the last 3 months, and he's the only one in the server that has eclipsed an 80 ADR in terms of the last 3 months.
And that's a really important detail, like in my perspective. And I'm glad you brought that up because again, like when you just talk about ADR, that's obviously only one statistic, but the fact of everything else is like CSO is kind of sitting himself at 67. You're talking about LCM with like a 63, like XRB kind of sitting at 74 and 71 here for Ali as well. So that's a pretty big difference, right? Like not that many players are pushing these higher numbers. And that kind of makes me a little bit worried in one sense, just because there seems to be a little bit more reliance on a player like, GBB, where he has to be the star player. He has to get things moving. He has to get, the multi-frags and kind of getting the ship moving here, because otherwise it might be an opportunity for Galorys just to get themselves potentially 2 separate wins here today and those 2 separate BO1s like we talked about, because like you said, the stats are just so much stronger here overall when you kind of look things on paper, but that's obviously only one perspective. But I mean, I think that's going to be the biggest test here, especially with that history of them playing each other already.
Yeah, having one player at the forefront can kind of be volatile. It makes it a very hit or miss thing. If your lead, if your star, your shining star that guides the way isn't having impact, then you can very much crash and burn. You can hit the shore, so to say. Whereas for Galorys, where they have that duo to rely on, Hoax and Koala, maybe those two can bounce off each other. Maybe one will struggle where the other one will shine. There's a little bit more leeway there and some more consistency that comes from it. So I would give Galorys kind of an edge there, especially, as we mentioned, if GBB doesn't show up. I feel like we're putting all of the eggs of Solid into that one basket of GBB. If he doesn't succeed on one of these maps, then it feels like it's probably going to go the way of Galorys.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think the vetoes are going to obviously be really important in this, because I think both these teams, we know, like on paper, again, when we talk about statistics, is they have some decent maps, some maps that are a little bit questionable, and everything like that. And I know we're going to go into that pretty quick, but I think the vetoes are going to be really important in this, because that's where certain players play better, obviously. And I think, just some of the history for both these teams. And I think Solid definitely has a lot to prove here, because like I said, they've had a decent start to the season where they're very competitive, but they just couldn't get across the finish line, right? And that's a huge difference. Whereas, Galorys right now, they're sitting in a better spot, but they also need to get themselves some wins here to make them more of a contender for playoff contention.
Yeah, as we talked about, Solid at a 5-11 record thus far in the season. Galorys at a 9-11. We do have the vetoes on deck, ladies and gentlemen, for the first map. It is Solid who had that choice of ban order. They went for Team B, as everyone does, and that ends us on that map of Ancient. It's going to be a very interesting discussion, Laz, as you hinted at, because Ancient's a weird map. It's a map that both teams, I think, is their most played map, if not next to it. Solid has an okay record of 12-9. However, Galorys, in spite of playing this map seemingly ad infinitum, have a dismal record, a disgusting record, I dare say, of 4-15, which really kind of flummoxes us. It makes you think, why are they playing it with a record this dismal?
Yeah, and that's okay. So that's a really good thing, because again, like, yeah, when you talk about officials, like with them sitting at 19 official matches, but they're sitting at a 4-15 record. Like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, you played it so many times, and one of the most maps that you played as a team, and it seems to be one of your weakest maps. So this is obviously a huge pick right now for Solid, and I love that. I love that this is a good opportunity for them, because like you said, on the other end, they're sitting at that 12-9 where they have a lot better stats. They've been able to play some very good competition like Pain Academy, MIBR, Fluxo. Like, they have been able to play a wide spread of talent here. And I think for them, this is the perfect opportunity for them to find potentially a map win here.
Yep, now we've broken down that first map. Let's talk about our predictions, because we did butt heads on this, and I think it was more for the sake of playing devil's advocate than an actual prediction. Again, we're kind of in the dark when it comes to these two teams. In terms of South America, I typically watch the Challenger qualifiers. That's where my forte is, and we watch those upper tier teams. But again, when you get into that scrappy mosh pit that is the middling to low tiers of ECL in South America, I'm still very much in the dark. These two teams are unknown elements to me, and for that reason, I just I didn't want to say tossed a coin, but I went for that duo, that Hoax Koala duo, and for that reason, I chose Galorys to be the team to come out on top in this matchup.
Okay, well, and that's funny, because I'm going to go the opposite here. Like, I'm going to say that, I think team, Solid have an opportunity here to get something. And I said the vetoes are very, very important. And I think this one here, even for Ancient to be the first one and the first best of one, I love this for them. But there's that crux that we talked about, is that we do need to see these players come alive. GBB needs to be able to start things off well and getting a good pace in this game. Otherwise, your prediction might be right here too.
Yeah, I have to agree. Now we're going to talk about the player to watch. We chose GBB. Even though I have my heart set on Galorys taking the victory here, I think we can all agree GBB is that player to watch. He's the one with which the ship sinks or swims for Solid. They either glide across the top with him at the helm, or they crash and burn. So a lot is riding on him. We will be taking a look at his stats at the end of each map to see exactly if that can spin a story or some sort of a narrative in terms of this overall best of two. I want to touch a little bit more on this first map. We talked about an ancient dismal record for Galorys, and yet recently they've had some solid results against the likes of Made in Brazil. In fact, just a week ago they won that one. But with that said, enough pontificating. We are heading into the action, off to the ruins of Ancient to start off this spat of best of ones. I was going to say the series, but again, two best of ones. Not a series of two maps. It is a single best of one followed by another best of one that cannot be on the same map. And we are live. Knife round occurred. Galorys are starting on the CT side, Solid on the T. Not sure who selected to start where. Kind of just up to our own conjecture. But either way, both teams should be, as we talked about, more than ready to play this match.
Yeah, big opportunity right now. Like we said, Solid definitely in a good position to find themselves potentially this. But again, we have to see if they're going to be able to have a strong T side. Folks, now he's got the dualies, but it's just going to be the one and done. Okay, so now Solid are getting themselves a little bit of footing here. They're in Donut. Now they're going to be able to get themselves in this A site, but you got to worry about the CTs. They've already made their way in for the rotates. Look at how fast they're going to go for this. They're going to get the flash in. Oh my gosh, they're just going to go right for the planter. And oh no, that is becoming a bit of a problem. Glocks are starting to make their connections, just leaving it to Haps and Ninjas now by themselves. This is not a good position for them to be in.
No, they threaded the needle perfectly to drop the bomb planter, but the Glock at close range gets a 2-for-1 in response. Securing at this point the round, depending on how GBB fares. He finds the first up close and personal Hap. The last alive is Ninja. We talked about him, not the best individually, but he has an opportunity. No. LCM covering CSO's retreat and reload. And with that, pistol round goes the way of Solid. 1-0, good start. Galorys putting a lot in that player towards Donut, relying on him to find ideally more than one with the dualies up close and personal, if they were only able to find that single kill to start things off.
And the one thing that we got to make a note about here too, like, I mean, obviously stats are going to say one thing, right? But at the same time, like a team like Solid, they have a 56.3% win rate on their T side on this map. When we kind of talk on the opposite here, for a map that's not very favorable for Galorys right now, I mean, this is their strongest side with 43.8. So this is kind of going against the strength against strength. So we're going to have to see how well they're going to go against each other. These pistols are actually doing a little bit more work than I think that we wanted to see here, and Solid have already lost 2 bodies. This is not a great situation. They are going to be able to get this bomb on the site, but again, this is becoming very expensive. Even LCM in a position here with the P250. This is not great, because now you got the AK picked up here, the MAC-10 for Hap. This is a doable situation if they want to go for it. But even if they save Pineapple, I think this is a good call.
Saving the AK at least would definitely be a fruitful decision. He also has that piece of utility on the belt. $300 is not trivial. It looks like he might have just thrown it to lock these players in the site. Yes, he has. I like this idea from Galorys. They're not committing, but they're not going for a super safe save either. They put a rifle on one side and they put the max on the other, try and hold against this exit. No. Ninja's gonna need a little bit more support towards red doors. LCM gets the AK, another kill, and those 3 will survive. It was an interesting idea from Galorys to just put the economic pressure on them by forcing Solid to lose a player or 2 on the exit. But unfortunately, the execution was not there. 3 survived, the AKs dropped, but hey, Galorys, they can still invest. No harm, no foul. It was an interesting idea. There are some concerning caveats to this round, to this investment. They're lacking some utility on the CT side, and they're also lacking a kit.
Yeah, they are. That's going to be really important, and I'm glad you brought that up because, again, even like the head armor being purchased a little bit here twice from the CTs, that's some money that could have been used potentially for those kits, but they grabbed the mid control. Nothing going to be interchanged here from Solid. They're actually going to be able to have that B ramp control, so this is not bad because, again, the CTs, I was wondering if they were going to try to go for that control as well, but instead they just crunch mid, just leaving it to Hoax by himself so far. And Solid are just kind of playing a retake setup right now. GBB trying to do something big by himself on the catwalk, gets taken out, so again, the player that we were, watching here, the player to watch essentially is removed, but the op is still into effect right now for LCM.
It is. Molotov hits him, that's very unfortunate. Force him back. Ninjas immediately takes the map control in response. CSO finding an opening, an opportunity perhaps towards Donut, and yet Ninjas drops LCM to maintain that main advantage. 2, racing up Donut now. It's just Koala here. He's back towards spawn, but up close still to swing if needed. Steps heard. Good kill on the first. A nice re-aggression to find the second. Zuraba not expecting that swing, leaving just Koala alone, coming through a main dink and done. Happy, does him in. Galorys get on the round with get a round on the board, with a very convincing and needed clean rifle round victory.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, I feel like Solid, like, I didn't mind the fact that they were just kind of waiting things out, letting the CTs just burn a ton of utility, all these things. But again, like, GBB just goes for that fight by himself on Cat. He doesn't have an opportunity for the trade. I feel like that was just kind of sacrificing himself, a big risk that really just didn't pan out at all. But that's a really clean round that we saw from Galorys. Like, they only lost 1 person, kept 4 alive. Now they have an op as well for Detroit. This is big. And now Solid, again, they have to refight for this mid control. Hoax now is going to get pushed back a little bit. Good utility setup coming in from the T's, and damage is coming in a little bit, but okay, mid's going to be grabbed now from Solid. But it's a question of what they want to do with this, because now you can see the CTs switching up their composition with a 2-1-2. Double players here in CT spawn and also in red, just kind of waiting things out. That Molly might have just missed in time. It's not going to make the connection for the noise, but now Hap will be the first player to find this. Ninjas does get taken out. Oh my goodness, the MAC-10. It finds something big.
Double up, and that forces Detroit back onto a defensive pop. They'll still swing for 1. Isolate that first doing Koala. Wise to the flank finds another, so it was an opportunity for Solid to win a round on a scrappy tie. Might just slip away out of their fingers. Koala with the nade finds 1, leaving just a MAC-10. Not in Zera's hands, but rather in LCM's. He does get the first, but he can't double up like his compatriot. He'll be dropped at the second hurdle. And Galorys will secure a bloodier, it's still a second round in a row to tie things up. The op should be recovered here shortly. I believe it's towards long. There it is. It's in Hoax's hands. Koala snooping around for utility, trying to scrounge whatever dollars they can out of this round to build up that CT economy. Solid. Got the bomb plan to give them a little bit of extra cash, but they should not be able to justify an investment in round number 5. It should be pistols and at most Kevlar for the offensive.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, it's a good point you brought up. Getting the bomb down is going to be good just for the money getting built up a little bit. But yeah, these post plants are becoming a bit of a problem, right? A bit of a nuisance right now for Solid. But again, can't take anything away from Galorys right now. They're doing a great job on the retakes. Their CT side, like I talked about, is statistically their best side on this map, despite their 4-15 record on it. So we're kind of getting that glimpse of, how well they can be on this. And now you can see Solid once again just push back in mid, waiting outside of B main. They just don't have any map control for the time being. And even now Galorys, they're actually starting to just kind of do these individual pushes. Ninja's playing a very aggressive angle on Cave. This isn't even that bad. They should be aware that it is going to be pistols, but again, Flash comes in, doesn't make the connection. A lot riding here. XRB needs to be able to find something big here with the Galil. Oh, the spam is so nice. This is a good moment for Solid to maybe reconsider their thoughts.
Yeah. It's a half buy. Really can't expect too much from them. They don't have much utility to go for an actual execute proper. Relying on ninjas to give away the duels, for example. But ninjas is not playing alone. He has the jump up support, and he also has a secondary support from half in towards cave. It's very well read from Galorys. They know it's likely going to be a B play, especially with Koala finding that lone player over towards A. At this point, the question is consolidate to get a bomb plant in the chaos.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be big for the money, right? Like, just despite everything right now. Ooh, that was so close. Ninja's lucky to be alive. Okay, double player cave again. Now trying to go for the swing. Man, that's big. That's a nice connect. And even Hap takes some big damage here too. So this is not easy. Very wounded. But now these teams are coming in one by one. This is not what you want. But the P250 finds just one little consolation prize. Okay, yeah. Double kills. Not really going to be too much. Bob's still in the rotation. But Galorys now going to put themselves back in the lead.
The first time they're in the lead. 3 rounds in a row. But not too much of a CT economy to speak of as of yet. They might be able to resist one loss, but still, not a bunch of money in the bank, all things considered. Solid, though. Also, bearing some economic pains. They have a Galil on GBB, for example, the player we highlighted as potentially a sink or swim player for Solid. Galorys, again, mid-control emphasis, but they're not going for mid-control. They're actually using it as an opportunity to take control of Snake. 2 players, Ninjas and Hap, both getting control. Now having to watch 2 different angles, though, that makes things difficult to smoke. Will prevent GBB from aggressing, though. Ala.
Oh, he just walked through it.
Looks right through it, looks towards ramp. Duel's going over towards A, but that's just a distraction. Hap walking forward, knows they could be here, but misses the opportunity. GBB, an opener, and now the B side taken. They know that the bulk of the control is put towards Snake. Cave, and just race in towards B. GBB getting control, is traded, still damage done to control. At this point, consolidated. Ala dropping ninjas, leaving just Detroit and Hoax. Try and do something, but it seems like they're just going to try to save at this stage. No real chance in this round. Galorys, their 3-round streak has finally been ended.
Yeah, this is a really nice execute that came in from Solid. Again, nothing super flashy, nothing, out of the ordinary, just very basic, right? And like you said, LA just comes through the door, through smoke. They double swing the player that was playing aggressive on Snake or on the B ramp. Okay, the op's going to get taken out here too. So this is just a very basic, just, kind of frag out. Not much utility, not much you have to worry about in terms of like execute. It's just run a gun, find something, and it works out very, very nicely. Oh no. Oh no, and that's even worse. Okay, well, nothing going to be saved here for the CT side. That's going to be a little bit worse for wear. There is some money where they could put some rifles on this if they want, but again, Nate, I don't know if I would even attempt that idea.
No, I mentioned it. Their economy was still very frail, and the fact that all 5 fall means that there's no real chance for them to invest in any realistic capacity. They can get some pistols on the players who are a little bit better off. Eagle for Hoax, CZ for Detroit. Another Deagle for Koala as well. Just had a solid individual start. Zeus could also pull off some shenanigans, but for the most part, this should be a solid round through and through.
Yeah, you never know though. Again, all it takes is somebody to find like a double kill with the pistol, and things could just get a little bit weird, a little bit chaotic maybe, but now mid control is going to be up for grabs right now for the CT side. Again, all these players from Solid are just sitting in the site, just waiting things out. This is not easy, and I think it's even, if I'm not mistaken, oh, it is just going to be Zerbo right now. Solid's with the AK, just trying to get maybe a little bit overwhelmed. Oh no, they're peeking one by one. A little bit of a frag stash, get himself a triple. Why not? Okay, Solid put themselves at 4, and honestly, pretty good situation to be in. Only losing 1 player thus far. Assuming this player can stay alive with 9 HP, that's going to be not a bad stay here for Solid.
No, very solid for them. Laying the groundwork for what should be a solid T-side economy. Bomb goes off. Hoax will save a Deagle. Won't get that dropped rifle. And Solid regain a lead, 4-3. Galorys, though, back on a bye heading into round number 8. Past that halfway point of the first half at this stage. Up for Detroit, yet again a factor. Looks like it will be M4s on the rest of the squad. Koala probably has a gun on the ground if I had to guess. Solid. Early mid-smoke, perhaps challenge for control.
Yeah, at least it's something though. Good HE. Okay, that's actually really good just again for any players that are trying to be very aggressive on that one side of the wall. Again, look at Galorys. They just do the same thing over and over. They have the one player just committing to mid. A couple players now from Solid just in back of B main. They fight for that B ramp control and they get it. So this is a lot of real estate right now for the CT side. But Ninja's falling down this early. That's problematic here because you're just leaving the one player anchored, which is going to be Koala by himself in this A site. Double player in mid. Another player pushed up on B ramp. So the jig is up here. Like, Galorys should have full information here that yes, they should be coming towards this A site, but they're kind of still posted up here, Nate. It's a little bit awkward.
And their rotations are abysmally long from this position. They're aggressed on B. Very long rotations. Actually, they're going to go challenge in towards the middle, and they don't know if there's a player lurking in that area. Koala, volleyed out back of sight, does well to at least find the kill before falling away. He'll maintain presence in towards CT to prevent any over-aggression from Solid, but Koala needs to buy time for this retake to come through. Hoax into Donut flashes in, and there's the bait and switch.
Oh my goodness!
Smoke threads the gap, this time to much more success. He dinks LCM as well as finding a pair. 3 versus 2, Ala and LCM both lit. Detroit wins the Opera's duel, finally getting to see one of those come through and proper. Leaves just Ala. He's towards the sign, towards the jump up. Very far removed from the bomb, and with only 20 seconds left, he's just holding in hopes that someone peeks CT spawn. The issue is, no one's even close to that position. He'll swing into it here. Punches the Opera, doesn't quite get the kill, and Hoax is there to support on the overswing. Back to a tied ball game as Galorys pass the hurdle and regain control of the driver's seat.
Man, that's such an impressive round from Galorys. Again, like, Koala kind of, you know, again, finding the triple kill obviously puts him in a great position as, like, the MVP of that round. But just like you were kind of touching on is the fact that he found that first duel when the Molotov kind of came on the back box, finds that kill, flies into the smoke, gets out, waits patiently, and then the flash from Detroit was insane. That allowed him to just go right through it like a smoke criminal, gets himself a double too. Man, oh man, that's kind of the teamwork we wanted to see. That's where we talked about, you know, they've had a lot of experience on this team playing this map. The record may not show it, but that was a very well coordinated attempt on this. And now, again, we're seeing that even Solid are trying to refight for this mid control. They're not successful with it. GBB by himself in this spot before. He might be able to find something, but he does creep himself into Cat. Hoax now might get overwhelmed here with numbers. He's going to be going to a fight. Oh, the beautiful shot takes down Detroit. So now the op's going to be removed. Oh, but Hoax, he's got to get out of here. This is a terrible position for him to be in. He's already down to 32 HP, and this is looking like a decent setup coming in from Solid.
Yes, it is. They're finally playing back. Galorys take mid control with only one player. They're relying on that Snake support, that support from outside Jaguar, and it just wasn't present at that point in the round. Very well played from Solid to re-aggress. Control of the commanding area of middle. And of course to win their duels. Hoax and Koala, no choice but to try and save. They're both towards A. Solid already know that. I don't think Solid are too keen on hunting. CSO might try to find a rifle. And everyone should try to save, build up that T-side economy, which is so easy to snowball.
Yeah, it's so close. Yeah, but Solid back in the lead, like you said. And I mean, the fact that Galorys can now set themselves in a position to save those double rifles, again, such a good point you bring up because it's so important. And especially with the money situation that we're sitting in right now, not great at all. I mean, Detroit's able to force up, you know, the $3,500, but again, your last two players are essentially just going to be pistols and utility and trying to put those rifles into full effect right now. But timeout's going to be called, and I think this is a very good opportunity for it. The scoreline's still very competitive, very close, and I think right now for the CTs, they just have to rethink their plan. I mean, they've been doing such a great job just isolating mid, but it kind of seems like that's only the thing they've been doing. Like, they go for that B ramp control, or Snake as you call it, but again, I just feel like we need to see something a little bit different now.
Yeah, they only pressure that B extremity. They haven't really done anything towards A. They leave only one in middle. At this point, I think has been figured out by Solid. So an adjustment is definitely in order. Maybe challenge towards Snake or Catwalk, I guess as some people call it, from mid. But a second player there, have one jump up and support from that side. A lot of different changes in minutia that you can change on the side of Galorys. They haven't really been compelled to before now. And Buy's going to be scrappy. It's probably also a good time to call a timeout right before this kind of force. 3 rifles, an MP9, and a CZ. No kit, but okay utility. There we go. We've seen adjustment. Still 3 towards B, but 2 are going to be towards middle this time around, not a player towards A. And that could be the difference maker. There's actually 3 or 4 towards middle with that player coming out of Jaguar. 3. Swing comes in though, and Sureba passes the first turn. That player catwalk is caught. Ninja is a ninja in the smoke, good for 1, but everything else is turning out the way of solid. CSO pressuring the smoke finds that kill at trade. And just Detroit and Hap as the final pair. One's on B, one's heading towards A. 1-1 setup, and very hard to hold off a take as a solo.
Oh, but Detroit gives his position away, and he's still what? He still is able to find the double. Okay, all right, yeah. Now bringing it back into an even situation here, which was a 4-on-2 is now turned into the 2v2, and these T's are split apart. They are on opposite sides of the map right now. This is not a good position because, I mean, the bomb is outside in B main. LCM does find that connect, so this is good. Now this should kind of lure Hap to making himself into Donut, getting a little bit closer to A. But this should be the cue right now for Ali to get himself into this B site with the bomb, but he's still kind of hesitating. And LCM just waiting things out, swooping through, making a ton of noise. There it is. That's where the bomb should be making its way. LCM just needs to find this connect, buy some time as much as possible, and there it is. We're down to 1v1.
2v4. Hap. A lot of map control to make up, though, and Ale is reading it perfectly.
Oh, no.
This should be Hap dead to rights. All but certainly. At this point, does Hap even want to go for it? Does he clear the angle? Yes, he does.
What?
Hap wins the duel. Ale somehow read, in spite of what looked to be a flawless read for the T side. Diffuse will come through. And that round is a round of individuals. When it comes down to it, the team coordination breaks down. It's a double to bring it back to even footing, 2 versus 2. And from there, it was a split up. Solid relying on one player to get the information and the second to go for the QB sneak. Much like Galorys in a 2 versus 4, gambled on a player watching A and a player watching B, all on their lonesome. Scrappy one, but one that ends the way of Galorys by virtue of an individual performance in a massive read.
Oh, man. And I was thinking, like, for Ali, like, I was hoping that they would actually go on the other side of Cave because you do have that advantage for any players that is going to be entering Cave. You get that shadow, so you can kind of see it before they see you. But, I mean, play at a different angle, but I just can't believe Hap actually read that perfectly. Like, just 100% on the test and did very well in this one. But, okay. Well, back to an even game, and, man, this has just been going back and forth. I just cannot believe that last round. From 42 down to the 1v1, and now this is a moment where Solid, they're going to be kicking themselves a little bit, but at least they got rifles. They got the AKs with the 1 Galil, and it's a bit of a scrappy purchase on both ends like you talked about. The CTs, they're not looking pretty on this either. GBB now going to lead the charge, but is he going to expect Ninjas to be this aggressive? And it's also his teammate right behind. No flash to even flush these guys out. Oh no, a shoulder. This is going to be a swing. This should be an easy duel. Oh my goodness, but no! The T's, they come in together, but Hap again finds himself a double. Can he survive? Yes, he will! How does he survive that too?
That's an awkward swing. Spacing for Solid, not perfect. You can see team damage. They all kind of lined up with each other and trying to get that kill. Detroit in towards Cave. Likely to be the next contact as ICM is shoulder peeking. Will he expect to get a third? He will clear it. He will do his due diligence, but Detroit will not let him win the duel. Ale, the last alive. He's going towards long. He has slipped a gap versus Hoax. But how will that gap be exploited with no bomb on his back? That's the question. The answer. 2 found as Detroit exits the cave. The last alive, Koala. He's been an individual star for his team, but he has to do it all. Ale does not know where he might be coming from. Various many angles to watch. Dirt swing from Koala is good, but Ali's shot is better. It's an individual play and performance to rival that of Galorys in the round prior. 6-5, Solid at least guarantee even footing heading into that second half. And they do have a tremendous advantage in round number 12 because of it.
Yeah, that's massive. And okay, and Ali does get himself back into a position for the clutch, where we saw before Hap just eradicated him. So at least he gets a little bit of revenge on him, bringing things back into a lead. So, I mean, now this is a situation where Solid are in a position potentially to find themselves maybe at a 7-5. And like we said, this is kind of, you know, fighting fire with fire right now. They're just going to barrel into this B site. They're just going to try to get things done quickly. Good utility damage coming in. This is going to be good for the MP9. The Ninjas now with 5-7. Oh no! No, he's missing every shot. This is just becoming a massacre, leaving it down to the 2v1. CSO with 2 HP, but Hoax now with a 5-7, no kit, has to go for a double kill, has to be able to make this connection, and he will not, and that's going to be the end of the first half, a 7-5. We'll see you for the second.
Scrappy, chaotic, and tumultuous first half ends with Solid at a tenuous advantage, 7-5. It's Pineapple Phelps and Laz to bring you the action, and Galorys now on the offensive. Smokes lined up for B, a trio waiting with open arms, and putting that kit for Alec. Two smokes as well, one from the T side and one from the CT side towards ramp. There's a lot going on in this round.
Oh man, that info too. Look, even LCM, he's cleared everything on A. He has all the information in the world right now.
All the information, but can he connect the shots? That's the question. He gets the information. Now Galorys know they've been read, and it will likely be stacked towards B. The question is, what is their response? What do they do? Slow things down, try to starve the CTs of information?
Yeah,
they just sit on their hands awkwardly without a clear play in mind. There's a lot of questions. It seems like they're going to sit on their hands for at least another couple seconds, but they have a flash to precipitate a take. The question is, where will that flash be thrown? Or will it be thrown? Because it appears to be a contact play through caves. This area has been abandoned. This could be a good pop on towards B if the shots land.
Yeah, but they're going into a stack though too, right? So this is not a great thing either. Oh wow, CSO, I was gonna say, does have the kind of the pixel peak on this. Flash is gonna get thrown lands perfectly, but still 2 players gonna be in the Cup B, and it's just USPs now making connections, and this is just falling apart. Solid to put themselves in a great position right now on a 4-on-1, assuming they don't get themselves up on this. 2 players are low, sitting at 6 HP and 3 HP for 2 of them. This is not a great position. Glock is just running around. Koala hunting, does find 1. Not enough bullets in the chamber, and there we go. Solid will get things done. Very nicely coordinated, and I love the composure too. Even the fact that LCM pushed in, got the information, he played the perfect setup, and honestly, Solid, they didn't give up anything.
No, they didn't. They sat on their haunches. Sure, they were holding their ground, but you don't need to be the one to press forward on the CT side. You just have to hold your lines and be confident in your play. 2 towards the long, 1 playing anti-flash, and then 2 in that cubby, as you mentioned, were the real linchpin in that round, really kind of dividing that set of Galorys' 2-pronged attack. No bomb plant either, means that it's going to be a save round for Galorys. They have 1 P250 for Koala. He's the player who's above the rest right now for this T side. They will just walk in A main. There's only 1 defender here. It's LCM peeking out of Temple, and he will find the first spot a second, but gets dinked. He had no helmet. That means the P250 is a 1-shot headshot, and that is a tremendous oversight. Could have knock-on effects in this round.
Yeah, really good. That's a bit of a critical mistake right now. Smoke's going to block things off a little bit, but I think Detroit actually does get spotted here. It's a question if they can just maintain their composure. 4-on-3, still the advantage right now for Solid. CSO trying to lead things off here with the MP9, the positioning from the T's. Just jumping for information. Detroit's just jumping around. The Gazelle in this moment, but Koala does come in big with the double with the M4, now leaving it just down to half. Block needs to be able to find something, but it's just not going to be enough. But honestly, that's still a pretty impressive round, all things considered. They get the bomb down, plus they're able to find that 3K, which is not a bad thing for them to transition into this round 15 now.
Yeah, definitely knock-on effects from that opening kill. The 1-shot headshot onto the M4 wielder. The difference between getting away and even finding a third and just falling right there at that doorway. I think the bomb plant was inevitable given the numbers and given the fact that there's only 1 defender on the site. But if he could just keep that M4 out of their hands, it would have been a far cleaner perspective round for Solid. Unfortunately, not the reality. Don't make that oversight again. They're going to invest. They have full M4s in that 1 MP9. Galorys, though, the same thing we said, full AK's good utility because of the kills and, of course, that bomb plant in the round prior. This is where they mount their comeback. This is where they begin it. If they lose this round, and more importantly, if they don't get a bomb plant, it'll be 5-10 and likely 5-11 before they get another such opportunity. So the pressure is on. Soreba only adding to that mounting pressure. 2 kills for the price of none. A third a possibility as well, as Ninjas has been able to isolate a clean duel. Faded into LCM's crosshair. Hap finally finds some inroads, but he takes so much damage for it. And it feels like Solid knocking on that 10th round at this point, all but guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big play for Detroit. Has to be able to find something, getting some ground, but again, just nothing. Good utility coming in here from the CT side, a nice bit of a double swing, and leaving it to happen. I mean, in this kind of a situation, you got 50 seconds left. I mean, Solid in a great position with 4 players alive. Honestly, I'm not even against if they try to go for a bit of a hunt on this. It would actually make some sense. Oh, man, they're just going to miss each other. But, I mean, if they want to play composed on this, let them just keep the AK. Whatever. Fine. I mean, it would be great for them to take it away, but man, what a weird round we saw from Galorys. Again, they just go for these one-on-one peaks. Even the double players in elbow. I don't know what your thoughts were, but again, like, I didn't see any flashes coming through. They just kind of went 1 by 1 in the smoke, and it's just a death trap, man.
They needed flashes. That was the biggest thing. There's a lot of flash layups for middle, and you can get ahead a lot of them. Sure, you can get right in front of them. They won't full blind you as a defender. Still, I don't think we saw any flashes being thrown in for the peaks to come through. And as you mentioned, a very costly mistake, because now they have 1 saved AK. They did not get a bomb plant to help the economy heading into round number 16. And Solid are knocking on that door at this point. 3 rounds away from taking this first best of 1. Perhaps the band's coming back to bite Galorys. Now, we talked about it, their dismal 4-15 record. Looking at the stats, we have some players kind of struggling. Hoax specifically is worrisome. He was one of that duo. It was Hoax and Koala I pointed to be the pair to really pull Galorys across the line, although everybody could do it individually. Over Hoax is at 4 and 10, bottom of the scoreboard next to Ninjas at 5 and 14. Scrappy investment as well. A lot riding on this. Galorys not taking a tactical pause, heading into round number 16 in spite of it. 2 MAC-10s. We saw them have effect for Solid, but can they do the same?
Oh man, that's just awful. I mean, that's a good pickup here for Ninjas, but again, for Solid, that's a big sacrifice losing one of their big players right now. But LCM putting himself in a great position, does take one duel, but it's a cost of him being at 27. But now these Ts are getting themselves closer into the safe site, pushing the CTs back. They should be able to get the bomb down, but tons of utility still available right now for Solid. Flash is coming in. You also have the Molly that's going to be available. CSO goes for the peek and does take down Detroit. Bit of a questionable one now. Koala sitting on the top corner here of this. Needs to be able to find something, but he takes some damage, but he gets the duel. Leading it to a 3-on-2. Coming in for Solid. It's a swing coming in from Hap. He's been able to be clutch for these guys. Can he do it again? A Molotov just roasting alive, and Solid once again are just looking great and putting themselves in 11th round. Just 5 here from Galorys.
Very solid retake. That double flash bombing over the CT approach. Gets that first player dead to rights. Good coy swing from a player on low HP in back temple. Gets the dink onto the Galil player. There's no real chance he won an even 1-versus-1 duel given his HP for GBB. And then, of course, that last player in Donut, even if he won the first duel handedly, the bomb wasn't planted for him. It was going to be an uphill battle from start to finish. So, Galorys, their T-side post plant, caught off guard, and honestly, not the best of setups given that bomb plant position. Koala taken out of the round immediately by the op of LCM, only adding insult to injury, as Solid are looking to put a swift cap on this round and secure map point.
So much pressure right now for Galorys. They have to be able to find something in this, right? I mean, like you said, we're talking about map point. They've already lost 3 of their players. And LCM has put himself on the top of the server right now, sitting at 19 and 10. Just having a field day so far on Ancient. And Galorys now in a tough position. The T's spread apart from each other again, where they're going to have to retreat the bomb. They have it, or retrieve the bomb, sorry. And then that's even Hap again, just kind of, you know, clearing things out here on B ramp. But they got a minute to work with, but their utility is a bit lackluster. You got the Molly, Smoke, and 1 flash, and that's between the 2 of them. So, I mean, if we see Solid just kind of posting their positions, not being super aggro, this should be a round for them theoretically.
Yeah, and Solid, we know they hold their lines well on the CT side. We saw it on the pistol round. It should be no different. Holding their lines, holding their angles. They have a shoulder peek in towards Donna, expected by Detroit, but the shot does not land. Bomb will jump up catwalk. It's going to be a walk towards B, and Solid prepared to give this away, but Ale will get the information if they choose to cross.
Yeah, 20 seconds remaining too. I mean, this is a tough decision.
They're saving.
Yeah,
They're sitting in Jaguar. They have to be saving.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was like, I think they're posted up on this. I think they're just doing a little bit of digging, some sightseeing a little bit. Zuber right now might be able to find something. Oh, this could be bad. Okay, no, decides not to. Decides, you know what? I'm not going to even entertain that idea. And okay, it is a save. Map point now for Team Solid. And a long road right now from Galorys. And we haven't even seen them call that timeout, which is pretty surprising. Like, they haven't had really good control of this since, like, we were at, like, a 5-5.
No, they had some questionable calls as well, like a MAC-10 investment, a double MAC-10, which almost worked out, all things considered, but still good to use a tactical timeout to really flesh out your strategy heading into a round like that. So a lot of concerns, especially given the fact that they have now lost 5 rounds in a row on this T side with nothing going in their favor.
Yeah, great position right now, like we said. Really solid fans. And now this is going to be a bit of desperation to see what Galorys is going to be able to bring through with this. The MAC-10 and a deal for 2 players. Not great. Ninjas is going to get taken out. And this is a really nice mid control that we see from Solid. This is a huge difference that we saw from Galorys. They only had 1 player on their CT side taking that mid control, but now we see the CTs putting 3. Now a full reset. Yeah, there's a little bit of a kill coming in favor for Galorys, but I don't think it's too much to stress about. The op is going to be technically removed on this one, but still going to be only 3 rifles here for the T side.
Yeah, one of them being a Galil as well. Compounds the issues. So very interesting. Koala, the player head and shoulders above the rest, is only on a deagle. It's gonna be a B split. 3 coming in towards cave. Potentially, no, it's gonna be a 2-2. 2 in towards cave. 2 towards ramp. GBB and Sureba, both here to defend. Actually, the third in CSO, holding towards mid. Ready in the back lines. The nades come through. Great commitment as of yet. Here we go. Swing out caves at long last. Sureba is ready for it. Finding the first 20 seconds left. Time is of the essence. Swing comes in. Sureba a second. Hoax finally trades, but 20 seconds left to get that bomb down. They're leaving it down to the wire. CSO inching forward. Caught by Detroit. Hoax as well. Finds another. Both kills going unanswered. It's all on Ali's shoulders. 1v2. He's coming in. Detroit's going to swing it with the bomb on his back to get the information. That's big. The spam almost gets it done, but Ale does not realize it connected. Bomb plant down to dirt, and Ale, it's doable. Both are tagged. Again, that makes it all the more difficult. Trade transfer cannot connect. And Galorys, on the back of some very risky calls, do at long last put a round on the board on their T side.
And honestly, I feel like that's one of the rounds we see where, you know, we talked a lot about Solid and, well, no pun intended, how solid they've been playing. But I mean, that's where they've been composed. They don't overpeak. They, you know, they have a very good system in place. And I feel like that round was kind of that little blooper, right? Like they started peaking over aggressively. They started kind of, you know, making these mistakes that we haven't seen before. And just like that, they lost 2 players instantly. They lost the site. But again, it was a close one, and Ali almost had an opportunity there. Like you said, getting that spam on there too. I don't know what Detroit was thinking. I know he was trying to get some information, but man, that was so risky. And especially for the plant that he did too. He knew he was there. So again, some very questionable decisions, but either way, it's going to pan out for them to get themselves around. A timeout is going to be for Solid. So it's not even Galorys that call it. It's actually the winning team right now that's calling it.
Yeah. The economy's on the precipice. About to be broken. An MP9 for CSO. So players lacking head armor that could be exploited by Koala on the Galil. So much could have toppled that round for Galorys. That peek in towards cave, that spam immediately thereafter. Could have sealed their fate, could have consigned them to map number 2, which we have not revealed yet either. I think it's revealed on HLTV. Mirage, I'm going to spoil it. It is Mirage. It's the second.
Spoilers.
Still, Galorys cannot ride on victories like that. That's a very inconsistent. Again, playing with fire might not even do that situation justice. Tighten things up. Play together. Run a default. Solid are giving you space right now. They don't have the utility or the rifle advantage to take a lot of control. They're going to let you play your game. How are you going to play it? Slowly is the answer. Minute left. Detroit falling back, looking to go towards potentially cave, but a smoke forces their hand, forces their stay, I should say. Flashing towards middle and towards donut. The op is there in LCM's hands. He's looking for a cross. Unfortunately, the smoke goes up as that precise moment. Still though, a 3-2. 2A, 3B. Mid block Galorys, a split perhaps on the cards towards one of these 2 respective sites.
Yeah, I don't mind this. I actually like this. This is good control. If they can be able to find LCM, that's going to be a nice pickup. They're going to move this off, but he's posted. He knows, and he makes the connection. So it's going to be a trade back and forth, not against LCM necessarily, but back to the 4-4. Bomb's still in middle. Koala does find another player here. LCM gets himself another one. So now he's sitting himself at that double. Bomb's going to make its way into the A site. 9 seconds, though. They have to get this plant down. And quickly. He's going to try to deny something. Ooh. What is Koala doing? He just jumps in the open air. And he gets taken out. So now this op has picked up 3. This is falling apart.
Falling
it's all
apart.
Down to Detroit.
It's the op to challenge the op. It's found GBB via trade, but still 2 to 5. They're from disparate angles. LCM is the one to find it, but even if he didn't, Ale on the flank would get the job done. Galorys, risky. Flying by the seat of their pants, no clear direction in mind for their takes. And that is what cost them in the end. That last second cross, the last second plant 2 rounds in a row. The second time around, it is not paying out in their favor. And so Team Solid take the victory in the first best of 1 of the evening. and only add to Galorys' dismal record on this map.
You know, look, I mean, we talked about predictions. I'm happy for it, right? Like, I was like, look, Team Solid, they look like there's an opportunity here. This Veto worked out, in my opinion, pretty favorable for them, like how well they did on the first best of one, and now the second one being a Mirage. But I wasn't really impressed with Galorys. Like, there wasn't really convincing rounds. The first, what, like 8 rounds were pretty much back and forth, came right down to 2v2s or like a 1v2 situation, things like that. But honestly, it felt like Solid had a way better system, more of a game plan. They knew what they wanted to do, and honestly, pretty impressed with how they played. And we do have the player to watch, like we both talked about, with GBB just being below there, was only 62 ADR, sitting at that 9 and 12, didn't really put himself in a position where he was kind of being the highlight guy. But I'm more than impressed with LCM. Like, I just honestly couldn't believe how much impact he was able to bring into this game later in the portion.
Yeah, we said it at the start, we pled ignorance coming into this one. Let's be clear. We said Galorys' stats tended to lean towards a more like team dynamic, with multiple players having that impact as required, where Solid, with that clear shining star at the helm, made us think it was more of an explosive, streaky kind of team. But it couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, Solid across the board was having impact. It was Sureba, LCM, CSO, I think, was the third player up there, all three kind of going toe-to-toe with one another. LCM at the end did have a stand-up performance with that op, but Solid was the team that across the board looked more convincing as both a unit and individually. Again, everyone looking like a working, well-oiled cog in the machine that is the Solid team.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we got to see a lot more of that team effort coming in from Solid, and everybody kind of stepped up when they needed to. And that's where we talked all about it, because we thought, look, like if GBB can get himself in a great position where he starts things off, maybe gets a big round or something like that, everybody else is going to start to come in full effect. But honestly, I felt like he did quite well, and they didn't even need him. Like, he was kind of that quiet guy. He got these couple impactful kills here and there, but really it was everybody else that just put themselves on the board, and they changed this game entirely, which is a great thing to see. And they have a tough record right now, and they're acting like it's pretty much 0-0, which you love to see.
Yeah, Solid, upending our expectations. Can they continue to buck the trend, buck our wildest expectations, or will they be humbled in that second best of one? We'll have to wait and see. We're going to head to the break. When we return, we'll have that second map of Mirage. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have just returned from what was a very stout and solid performance from Solid on map number 1 of Ancient, a 13-6 victory there, and now we get to see the second best of 1 of the evening. Spoilers, as I mentioned, it's going to be on Mirage. It's Pineapple Phillips and Laz to bring you the action. Laz, do you have any other thoughts coming off of that first best of 1 that we saw just a couple minutes ago?
Honestly, I think just kind of repeating myself a little bit, but I think just going back to the original point is I was really, really happy to see what we got from Solid. I love that we got to see pretty much every single player, shine when they needed to, and they played as a team. So I'm kind of actually really excited to see what they do in Mirage. I think this is going to be a bit more forgiving in the sense for a team like Galorys, but in the sense that it's a bit more puggy and you can kind of get away with a little bit more. But honestly, I don't know how you feel differently from the first map, but I feel like the way we saw Solid play, like I could not be surprised if they transition this to another win for them just because of the way they played on the first map.
Yeah, I do think that Solid looked like the better team, head and shoulders above their opponents in Galorys. I think that Solid, they had better team cohesion. Their individuals were hitting more shots than the likes of Galorys. They had better overall strategy. They did not look lost on the T side, whereas Galorys constantly let the time run out. They had a lot of questionable plays. Their first round and only round on that T side at the end could have ended the game because of how many risks they took. Waited to the last second. Bomb peeking with 7 seconds left in towards cave to get information. Bomb nearly spammed because it didn't go for a safe plant. There was a lot of things that Galorys did that left us scratching our heads, and I feel like those things can only be more exploited on a map like Mirage that everybody knows inside and out.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked a lot about this on the pre-show as well, but just for anybody that is just kind of tuning in now, like, so we're going into the second best of 1 that is going to be on Mirage, and I mean, this is kind of the thing, like, both these teams are kind of sitting at themselves, with Galorys sitting at 11 official matches. They're only at that 4-7 record, so really it's not that strong. And then when we talk about the other side of the coin here, is there's 7 official matches here for Team Solid, but there are 3-4 records, so you kind of take that for what you will, right? And I mean, I think that's the other piece about the competition they played and some of these teams that they've been able to play. But I mean, Galorys has, lost against, like MIBR, Fluxo. I think even Bestia, they've got a win on that against a team like that, which is not a bad thing. But I just don't know. I just felt like I wasn't seeing the same kind of cohesion in that like unit that you were kind of talking about too, that Solid brought in for us on Ancient.
Yeah, and additionally, Solid, they've traded maps of Mirage versus the likes of Fluxo, who of course are our leaders in ECL currently. I believe they've beaten it. They've actually traded maps as well versus Imperial. It's far further in the past. That was in February. But Imperial, a very solid team, not one to bat an eye at. So very solid performances from them, all things considered, in spite of their fewer official maps played. We are heading off to the dusty map of Mirage, though. It is that second best of 1, as we mentioned. Will these teams split series on the evening, or will Solid sweep them both up and improve the record drastically by extension? I'm interested to see who starts where. Again, because it's 2 best of 1s, there is a knife round. We don't get to see the knife round. We only get to see the outcome. But if I had to guess, the team on the defense should be the team that won that knife round.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the other thing too is like a map like this, like I kind of put it a little bit more. I know we put like, GBB as kind of the player to watch. I definitely want to see him bring a little bit more into this game, but I'm going to be curious actually a little bit about that op head to head as well, because we got to see, on the side here for Solid. I mean, we had LCM putting himself in pretty good positions with the op on Ancient. He was essentially, I think he was pretty much winning every single engagement. I don't think Detroit really showed us a lot with the op. I think we saw these quick glimpses of it, but that's where I want to see a little bit more out of a map like Mirage, because we definitely have better fights, a lot more angles that you can utilize the op on both CT and T side. So I think it's going to be important, and I'm wondering if this is the official sides for both these teams. Just kind of waiting to see, but if that's going to be the case, I mean, statistically, I think for a team like Solid, I mean, it's going to be interesting because, I mean, on their T side, it's not the greatest for them. It's a 40% win rate, whereas when we talk about things over here on the other side, the CT win percent is about sitting at that 54.7. So, I mean, Galorys do have themselves in a decent position statistically, but I kind of feel like since the first map, that really is going to matter.
Yes, it is. Match boss still in effect. I think, as you mentioned, the CT side start is going to be very impactful. At the overall stats, Galorys on this map far better on the CT side than the T, 54.7% versus 43.0. I had to guess, as you mentioned, it would be the same for their opponents. Sure, as open running on the fly. But we have time. It is a technical pause, it appears.
Okay, that's all right.
And so it's a more dismal overall round win percentage, but it's slightly CT favored. A 40%, as you mentioned, on the T side definitely does hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think Solid have an advantage because they just look better as a unit.
Yeah. And again, it's hard to say, right? Because I mean, there's always the argument that people can say, well, look, like Ancient is a very different map than Mirage. Obviously, we know that. But again, I think you can take a lot away from how teams played. I mean, there was about that 10, 12-minute break in between. But I think for a team like Solid, where, their record is technically worse than Galorys, all these other things are kind of against them, but they really did look like the better team. They looked like this team that were sitting in a higher standings, and it was a map that really was favorable for them. But this is, again, kind of a situation where I still kind of put this at that 50-50, despite the amount of officials that both these teams have played on this. But I don't know. I feel like we're seeing some really good teamwork coming in from Solid. But the question is if they can maintain that. And this is the other thing, too, is other teams like Galorys now maybe are going to have a wake-up call, realizing, okay, look, like we really dropped the ball in the first match. We need to now bring things differently into this, and that could ignite something.
Definitely could. We'll have to wait and see. Again, hopefully this technical pause doesn't last too long. Again, to recount, that first best of one started off on Ancient. It was Solid's map through and through. It was 13-6, but it could have been a 13-5. It could have been even more one-sided as well, given a few slight changes of luck. Galorys had nothing to show on their T side. That's my biggest takeaway. I feel like it might be the same on Mirage if they play with as much individual freedom as they did on Ancient. Like we do have some players talking in the chat. Hopefully that's to conclude this pause. We've yet to see. Oh, we do see an investment coming in from Solid, so it looks like they're ready to conclude things here. Kevlar being purchased by GBB and Ale. Utility for LCM. More Kevlar for CSO. Sudeba probably going to follow with some Kevlar. Yes, he is. Galorys, they have the time to invest now as well. We have dualies and armor for Hap. A kit for ninjas, and no utility. It's Kevlar for everybody else. Gonna be a duel for Galorys in this pistol.
Yeah, and the dualies weren't even that effective that we saw on the first time too, so I'm gonna be curious if that's gonna be a little bit different on this one. Ooh, okay, I thought Detroit might just trying to go through underpass. Instead is gonna push through mid, but now even Solid again just kind of putting all their players committed on this B hall. Oh, great position for Hap. I was thinking maybe if he tucks in this corner, makes a bit of a fake jump. Trying to be a bit of a surprise. If there's any utility, that would be huge, but now the utility's flying in from the T side. Uh-oh, this is awkward. Oh, this is gross. This is so ugly. And it's only the one and done again. So we're seeing kind of a deja vu from what we saw in the first time. And now Solid, they got themselves this opportunity. They're going to get the bomb down, and we're at 4-4 already.
Much like the last pistol. Detroit swinging in double. Towards the apartments is good for what Ninjas is second on the Sureba. LCM, a very bad spot to be in, but up close and personal with the Glock can have its own advantages. One secured, a tag onto a second. CSO dancing at Van, looks for something. It's all on LCM. He found one, but his teammates fall on, trying to find those close duels. He very nearly isolates the first, but he misses the opportunity. Defuse from Ninjas comes through. And Galorys start things off right on the second map, the second best of one. They defuse on the pistol.
Yeah, not bad at all. But again, I love that Solid. Like, they still get the bomb down. They make it a competitive one. And like you said, that's such a tough position to be in because LCM was kind of playing just underneath the apartment window like that. It's such an awkward position because really you have to fight so many different angles. You have somebody above you. You got market player. It's never easy, right? And even with that bomb plant, Solid is going to invest into this. And I actually like this right now because if they can find this round, we're going to be talking about Galorys is going to be sitting in a terrible economy situation. But they're going to do a double player, push down B halls. And that actually might surprise GBB a little bit. I think he's just underpass now, but this is a ton of information gained for the CTs. They've done so much investigating. This is perfect because now they can reposition themselves, have a better setup for this attack. And Solid, they have zero idea this is happening.
Galorys need to be careful, though. Only one player into that balcony for a while could have definitely been exploited. The headshot duel in middle, though, to start things off, and it works the way of the CTs. Koala takes up his adversary's positioning and is good for one, but it's only one. Sureba, good trade and response, but still it's only a rebuttal to what was the openers. Still an advantage for Galorys. 4 versus 3. Detroit is low. CSO in the halls. Hap rotating around. It looks like the bomb might just slip the gap. They know Hap's flank is likely. Bomb gonna loop around. Sudaba's not gonna expect this, but he still gets the timing. Does Hap know? Did Hap here? Hap did the duel. It's all on this. Sudaba does pass that trial, tying things back up at 3 a pop. Ninjas, though, immediate response drops LCM. This is a crazy round with Galorys taking so many aggressive positionings. CSO in towards halls is looking for
3 seconds.
means everything, and the FAMAS has it through and through. By the last live has the M4, but not the HP nor the information. A second one secured for Galorys off of an aggressive probing press through the apartments. But again, wins like that are not to be relied upon.
No, definitely. And you know, again, think for CSO too, like kind of, you know, creeping at a palace, just trying to get as much information. It's such an awkward thing. Again, talking about so many different angles you have to clear and just really over analyzing it. And I think that was good timing from the ticket player, just able to find pretty much an easy duel. So now we're going to just see a light investment coming in here, just $700 from 3 of the players and spending, you know, just a couple P250s essentially here for the rest of the T side. So really not much invested in this one. If they can get the bomb down, I think that's going to be, you know, first part. Maybe, okay, maybe just swinging with deals and winning fights. That might be the name of the game here. I have no idea, but things are just getting a little bit awkward. But back to the 4 and 4. The nade does a ton of damage against CSO. He's already down 37. So the pin has hit his tooth. He's cracked it. And now the CT's back to a 2-1, or so my apologies, a 1-2-1 setup. Very interesting. And Hap does have the Galil here on the B apartments on the balcony. This is probably one of the best rifles to have up close like this. Good fire rate. Should be able to take these guys out. They don't even have armor either, so this should theoretically be a decent spray down. Now it's going to be a test. He's going to be able to do this. He's rolling down mouse 1, and there it is. Just a clean round, and it's a 3-0.
As clean as reasonably could ask. They lost 1 towards top stairs. His rifle won't be recovered. Still, you have to realize that in most cases there's going to be a loss regardless of investment from the opposing team. Very well done from Galorys, not overextending, holding their ground when needed. Also preventing the bomb plant does hamstring that T-side economy a bit. There's no op, there's a piece of utility missing for CSO. Meanwhile, Detroit has his big green in hand and he's ready to use it in round number 4.
Yeah, and this is what I was kind of wanting to see. I wanted to find a little bit more connection with the op. I wanted to, you know, have that opportunity to see Detroit do something a little bit more with it. Now's a big moment. Gonna reposition himself though. And he's actually gonna take outside a window. Now he's gonna go towards B. Koala in a very unique position right now, but the smoke again just problematic. Good utility coming in from the CTs. Ooh, I like that molly coming in deep connector. That's going to push the CT side back so they can't utilize the smoke that's placed here in front of Con. But again, if you look at this nade, I mean, solid. They really don't have a ton of utility left. I mean, they got the 3 mollies, but they only have 1 smoke remaining. So they need to be very careful what they want to do with it.
Yeah, they have gotten a player in position towards connector, though. That was their main goal. Sureba inching ever closer. Koala missed that opportunity, didn't see it. Galorys aren't weak to it either. 40 seconds left, and seems like Solid are waiting a little bit too long, sitting on their hands. The bomb is alone in middle. It is lucky to get away. It drops Koala and falls back. It's a double fake. The bomb's going towards A, while this fake play from CSO go toward B. Hap is mollied away and low, calling for rotation perhaps. Galorys aren't biting. They still have a player towards A. The information being gained. CSO gets control. It's a chaos all over the map. Ninjas, though, is the one to get the opener, dropping Ale. The bomb is out on A. Detroit drops that lone lurk B. Bomb loading dirt. Yes, TVB covering. Ninjas takes down the planter as the bomb goes down, though. It's all on this player we highlighted at the start of the show. A 1v2 for him. Ninjas is low, but Detroit is that man waiting in the wings, and both have been hitting shots individually speaking. Bomb halfway gone or thereabouts at this stage. Players inching forward. Ninjas does have the kit, as does Detroit. Tap comes through, compels GBB to a Will he go for it? No, it will be Ninjas instead. Fearless on low HP. He'll dodge, he'll kite the crosshair, and he'll find the kill. Defuse comes through. AKs will be recovered. I don't think the op will be. It's too far gone on Catwalk. Yes, it is. Galorys, though, flawless start on their CT side, looking to right the wrongs of map number 1.
Yeah, looking a lot better right now, too. Right now, we're starting to see that cohesion. That's where we talked a lot about this, you know, teamwork that we wanted to see from a team like Galorys. Like, again, a team that's sitting in a 9-11 record, 9-12 now, but I mean, they're kind of sitting themselves in the middle of the pack, right? And we're finally getting to see them a little bit more alive, getting their second win. Detroit does make it big. Connect here with the off, starting things off nicely. Now the CTs, man, they are just starting to make full connections now. This is now where individual plays need to come into full effect. Ali trying to do what he can, but Detroit just going in for a spree with this AWP. Molotov might push him out a little bit. It's not going to matter at all, though. He repositions himself. Ali now still pushing through this smoke. It's going to be an easy duel. That's going to be the triple for the op alone. LCM on a 1-on-3 with 1:16 to spare. Just kind of scratching his head going, okay, well, I got some work cut out for me.
1v3. Will he go for it? Probably. Wants to keep the economy on the same page. If he can get that bomb plant, the max loss bonus combined with that extra bit of cash would be enough to get AKs and armor if they wanted it, or a potent half buy on the deck to save for a more formidable round in the future. Detroit on the op is keen on a 4K, and he will get it. 9-1. It was a masterclass from LCM in the round prior, or the map prior, excuse me, with the op on the CT side. This time around, it's Detroit's turn to shine. He's at 9. Ninjas as well is second in command for Galorys, which is surprising. We talked about it. He's the one player that kind of lags behind the rest individually on this Galorys team, and yet here he is at the second place spot on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and this, again, this is what we talked a lot about in the pre-show. This is what we talked about just, you know, before this map started. Yeah, we wanted to see a little bit more coming out of the CT side here, Galorys, and I'm really happy to see that Detroit's putting himself in a position of a 9-1 scoreline with Ninjas right behind with that 7-1, but I wanted to see more of the op. We finally get it. It comes into effect on a gun round nonetheless, too. So it's not even really that much of an argument to say, oh, it's against ecos, or oh, it's against, you know, just light pistols, whatever. No, it's been against some pretty important rounds. Even that last one was important. And this one's going to be another test for him. Sitting in triple, finds himself another duel. Hoax playing a very impressive angle. He's not even going to get taken out. Pop's making connections, takes down some kneecaps, and okay. Things are looking like it's going to clean up nicely. As Tech 9 picked up, not going to matter. Okay, the half is secured. Almost here from Galorys, sitting in a 6-0 and solid. Now on the point here where they're going to have the guns on the board. And do we see a timeout?
Do we? That's a very big question. I'd say one is overdue at this point. Rifles coming through, including that op, though. They haven't had a chance to use the op on this T side, so maybe they feel like they can still get something done without the timeout being necessary. Still, things are very quickly slipping away from this T side. They have to put their foot down. They have to win rounds in a row. They have to break this T side economy. They have done well to keep it fragile. Ninjas, Hap, and Hoax all just above 2K, but again, they fall short. It is a failure by most standards. BBB finally ends Detroit's reign of terror, but Hap is there to trade, and he throws some utility in to find extra damage. Ninjas doubling down from backside. He's that number 2 on the scoreboard for a reason. LCM and Ale now stuck in a very difficult choke point with no utility to get out. And the rotation has come through in force. Should be no way for Solid to find a way into this B site.
Yeah, and this is the worst position to be in right now for Solid. You're stuck in the B apartments. This sucks. Like, you honestly, you're hoping, you're praying that somebody's going to swing and you're going to win a fight. Because right now, Galorys they're all here. Like, you have one player that's just Hoax just kind of waiting outside of mid, but essentially you have the 3 other players just posted up on this, and they should be able to dead to rights have these fights just like that. So many angles to clear here for the T's. Not easy for the Op. This is just about surviving. I don't even think he's going to have a chance. And he will not. And there we go. Op's going to be picked up. The CTs do such a great job. And again, I'm just impressed to see the difference in the teamwork, right? Like, you have the player that falls, the Opper, and then the double kill comes in, nades getting thrown, people are already there in the right positions at the right time, and this is what we wanted to see from them, and they are making a statement here. They're a little frustrated on Ancient from the previous game.
Yeah, a different team, a new league, perhaps, for Galorys. As the individuals shine, the team play comes through, the rotations are looking smart. They're not biting on fakes, which, by the way, we've seen a lot of fakes from Solid, a lot of chaotic rounds where everybody's everywhere, and yet Galorys don't seem to be lost, don't seem to be misled by such subterfuge. Koala starting things off again in Galorys' favor. Ninja's trying to go piggyback off of that towards underpass, will not succeed in that endeavor, but good to see confidence at the very least. Hap will be the one virtually seal around. 2 kills unanswered in apartments. No map control to be spoken of for LCM or CSO. At this point, just hoping to be given a duel.
Good positioning from LCM, though. Like, again, a little bit sketchy just because he is holding bomb, but not bad. But again, they have to clear this off. The ticket. Okay, missed shot. That might not be bad. Might not expect it. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, a nice little bit of a bait and switch. Op's going to get picked up here. Still lots of time, but oh no, the Op's removed now. That part has been solved in the equation. And now, this might be a difficult one for CSO. He's just trying his best for a no-scope. Nothing. And the streak is going to continue with 8 in a row being gained. And honestly, this is going to be the now big test. I'm still surprised we haven't seen this timeout yet. But you know what? They're going to maintain it. They feel determined, I guess. And now we're going to see LCM will equip himself with the big green. And where does he put this thing? Is it mid, or does he go for maybe an A ramp hit?
Not sure, but the pressure's on. The Galorys have done very well to prevent bomb plants. That's the biggest thing I've noticed. Bomb plants have been few and far between for Solid. It further hamstrings their economy. Makes them go for those half-buy rounds in between the rifle buys in spite of having that max loss bonus. Detroit, again, finding an advantage. Opener secured in middle. Ale tries to trade, but only takes a lot of damage for it. And Detroit is able to get away scot-free.
Yeah, still down the man, though, too. Like, they just can't seem to find these engagements. Okay, that's not bad. Ninjas was in a bit of a tight spot. Okay, so they bring it back to the 4-4. I was going to say, look, they keep losing these opening engagements. Galorys is doing a good job just finding those opening duels, but... Okay, so now we're back to an equal footing. But who other than Hap? I mean, just finds himself at the right place at the right time, takes another duel, and now he can backpedal a little bit. Detroit, oh, just misses it by sliver. Okay, so now reposition of the Op. Koala should be able to have this free duel. Oh, actually a little bit of a premature shot. Now he has to get out of here, find himself a new position. Bomb's going to go all the way around in T-spawn right now. So they're going to try to go back for this A-hit. And honestly, probably the best call. It's been the only site they've had success in. Koala still wins a fight. Oh my goodness. And CSO comes alive with a double now. Things are getting a little more interesting now.
It's taken a while to get to this point where they finally got there. The question is, can they get away into post-plant positions? LCM and CSO both on site. Op finally gets away, it appears, towards ramp, but it's not planted for ramp. He has to challenge from Tetris to keep his teammate alive. Aid from Detroit does good damage. There's one on Hap as well. If he throws that in, it could be CSO's doom. No, he stays alive just barely. They know he's there, that's the question. Op makes its presence known towards Tetris, or does it? LCM is the one to win the duel first, catches Happy. Detroit now, no time, he'll find one. The second at range, not quite. No time to get the defuse. Solid. It was ugly. It was last minute. It was touch and go from start to finish, but they're finally on the board. 1 round secured by virtue of bomb explosion. The question is a round like that replicable? They're not going to have any save for spite. There's not going to be a save from Galorys. They have plenty of money in the coffer to reinvest. Meanwhile, Solid, their economy is still hamstrung. 2 Galils on Ale and Sureba to round out a buy of AKs and the op, but utility also beleaguered for this T side.
Yeah, that's what we talked about too. I mean, it was actually the other way around that we were saying, look, Galorys are going to have to do a lot more than just these scrappy rounds and finding, these messes and getting themselves rounds. And finally now we're starting to see Solid. It was a greasy run. It was not pretty. It was not the greatest sight that we saw, but that might be enough to kickstart something here a little bit. And even then, LCM puts the op into work, makes a full connect on this. This could be enough, maybe, but Ninjas goes for a wide swing and still wins that fight, so bringing it right back. Even when they lose the first opening man, they bring it back to an equalized situation in some way.
And Ninjas has been that partner in crime for Detroit. Good trade to go to 4 versus 4, but it was a lot of damage taken by Ninjas, down to 10 HP. Control being taken. Happen again, pressuring in halls. He is just so aware, winning that duel time and again with seemingly effortless skill. 4 versus 3. Ale lurking up the smoke con, hoping to find something. He does find an opening on the hoax. Ninjas though still lurking around towards jungle. Bomb is dropped in apartments, I believe, underpass. Don't think it'll be known to Hap, who's actually fallen back towards Catwalk. But it doesn't matter because Hap is going to find the duel onto LCM. The offer removed. Last two separated. One on A, one towards underpass. CSO drops Hap. Does he find Koala on the trash can? That's the question.
Oh, man. CSO again takes so much damage, but only case 8 seconds remaining. Ninjas now. Not the best position for him. And I'm thinking this is going to be a save, and this will make a lot of sense. Yeah, he's scrambling in the middle right now. He's just looking around. Yeah, he's looking for a gun. He's just trying to hunt for something right now.
Yeah, this was not a great position. And there was one in Top Con, I think is where they were.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, and that's, I think yeah, because I was going to say, I feel like the op, I couldn't remember exactly where it was. I was thinking it was more near window, but okay, this is good. I mean, again, Solid to put themselves in 2 rounds in a row, but at least we can keep the big green here for Galorys. And I mean, the money is going to be tight, but they still have a situation where they should be able to get a purchase in, because we are going to be sitting at that, $4,700. But again, if they lose this next round, I mean, this could change things a little bit. Just again, the end point of this first half.
Good. As we mentioned, Solid struggle on this T side, so it makes sense. And 8-4, all things considered, would be okay. It would be par for the course given their performance on this map, but the performance on this map across the board has been poor. Both teams lacking solid records on it. We do have the op for both teams. Lacking utility for Solid, still showing some pains in the economy. They will up the pace yet against them towards the middle. Beware is pressing. Sureba finds the opening. The second potentially secured. It all depends on how Ninjas threads the needle. He does get away. It's a catwalk. Fearless in that endeavor. Very well done to get that control at least, but still. Duel taken and won by Solid. They bucked the trend in this first half.
Yeah, and Solid really need to be able to find something here. Just to, again, if they can get themselves in an 8-4, that'd be a nice way to just switch things over for the second half. But again, what we normally have seen is Galorys, some way they lose the first man, they bring it back, and they almost have. LCM, though, he's treading on some very, very dangerous waters right now. Hap, this guy's been all about timing. This should be it. Oh, okay, there we go. I was going to say LCM, it looked like he had a pretty good inkling, but the right angle, such a strong corner to hold and such a choke point. But either way, we're back to the 4-4. There's only 38 seconds left here, so now this is where Solid, again, they got themselves close on this A site. Galorys have put a bit of a gamble on this B site stack, so now they can leave it. They know that they can retreat this, and they should be able to go for the rotates, but again, they only have 1 kit to work with right now.
The Molotov tells them that it's going to be an A play. Bomb plant sound confirms it. Sude buckets that to dirt. Now the retakes on 4 versus 4. Window control has been taken by the T side. Is that known? That's a good question. Koala jumping up now confirms it. All right, spamming. I mean, awkward walk in. Hap gets the duel. GPV though drops Ninjas in the chaos. Hap low on ammo. can't quite get the kill on the GBB, who has support from Suraba now. Kill secured, Hap trades, but time is of the essence. Bomb only a third of the time remaining. Players will finally cross in, but CSO and Suraba doubled up towards ramp in a very solid position. Hap will get one, but the round is forfeit. It's going to be a third in a row for Solid. Again, economic pains are going to continue. Only one player survives. Galorys only a pair for them. It's going to be a scrappy round to cap off this first half.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, let's not forget too, like we talked about this, but again, like Galorys were sitting themselves at an 8-0. So now Solid, I don't know, they kind of got back, you know, after getting knocked out a little bit here, and they're coming back with a good swing, and we're talking about potentially 4 rounds in a row, maybe, that they're going to be able to bring back. But full investment coming in, and this is a big test for Galorys because they had the lead, they had a lot of momentum. It's kind of fallen a little bit behind them now. The wind is not behind the sails, but see if they can do something a little bit differently. LCM getting really aggressive with this op, playing on lower mid, waiting things out. Koala is just on the other side of this, and look at the op from the CT side. What is going on? Oh my goodness. Nobody to trade that out at all. So that's it, just a free kill, just on a silver platter.
They're relying on the fact that the player Catwalk would see somebody going down towards Valley, but the op got ahead of the curve and secures a free opening onto Detroit, who in the early stages of this first half was one of the heavy hitters. CSO now exploiting the fact that there's been aggression towards ramp, drops Hoax. Solid have a firmer read of the situation at this point, looking to put this 4th round to bed in their favor. Ale finds the 3rd without much trouble. Hap finally finds the trade, but it should not buck the trend. It should not turn this round into the CT side's favor. This should be a 4th for Solid as they get control of A. Koala rotating around CT spawn. Hap is tagged down low. He will win the duel eventually versus Suraba. He's taking a lot of damage for it. GBB drops Koala, and Hap now the last alive. 1v3 to try and stymie the second wind coming out of Solid. Khan, he will come. Top frag for the team, but a 1v3 truly seems insurmountable. It'd be a 1v3 ace clutch, or a 1v4 I think even. This past the op barely. Time of this, the step gives it away. He has a nade to throw towards Firebox, but they're all on full HP. 4-8. Basically secured at this point. A lackluster end to this first half, but Solid, looking solid as we hit the halftime break. Dominant start for Galorys in half number 1 ends in a 4-round streak for Solid, who look to mount a comeback now on the defense of Mirage. It is Pineapple Phillips and Laz to bring you the action. It appears to be a no-nonsense, clear-cut play towards A for Galorys. All 5 players here, 1 in the halls, 4 towards ramp. 2 sets of utility on Koala and Ninjas. Smokes towards stairs and jungle for this T side as the players look to slowly press out ramp. LCM up close with the duel. He finds the first opportunity to find more, pushing forward, finds a second before being taken down. Hoax finds a double of his own. No, he's even and honest. Dinks exchanged, and Hoax finding yet another 3 on the round as now at long last the bomb can hit the ground.
Oh man, that's crazy. Just a lot of running and gunning, and just the duels just going in favor right now for Galorys, and doing such a great job just finding these connections onto the CTs. And okay, that could be biting my own words here a little bit. But it's back to the 2-2. Time is already pretty much halfway through. There is going to be a kit available right now for the CT side. Koala sitting in a strong position here, just in Palace. Could swing out on this, just getting the timing. Should be an easy tap Reno, and that's going to be a done round. There's no way, surely. And there we go. Koala finds himself in a good spot, finds the double, but either way, it was a good start coming in from Solid. Nice bit of a hold on the A ramp, but then it just all fell apart, and the positionings just seemed to be awkward.
Yeah. I was wondering if Solid could translate that comeback in the first half into something at the start of the second, but it's not the case. They're sent back. A difficult proposition now as Galorys have a commanding lead. 9-4, 4 rounds separating them from victory in the second best of 1 of the day between these two. Galorys looking to put this to bed. A rifle majority buy, 3 Galils and AK. Mac 10 for Ninjas along with utility. Decent amount, all things considered. Solid. I'll let this round go by the wayside. Pistol stack towards A, nothing invested, just USPs on that P2K for Ala.
Yeah, and again, with not that much investment coming in from Solid, I don't mind this though too, because I think they're just going to obviously put a bit more from the next one. But the full stack on the safe site, it's a 50-50, right? I mean, this is the best thing they should do, but Galorys have to be really careful. And I mean, they're pretty much through mid now. Oh, they're getting the wrong inkling. Oh, this could be so bad. The smoke blocking this off. But GBB's looks like he's exposed. It looks like he's actually playing quite wide on triple right now. Oh, this might be a give up, but either way, they might still want to go for this fight. He's going to get taken out right away. Hoax finds himself 2, maybe 3. He will. Yeah, why not? Looking for a 4. He's a bit hungry. Big fight coming in, and there we go. Okay, double digits secured here from Galorys. Pretty flawless, pretty clean, and I like it.
Keeping it flawless, making a very solid bonus round, heading into round number 15. Solid, though. Making some interesting and risky investments. Foregoing helmets on 3 to buy utility. You can respect that call, but it's a very difficult proposition versus Galils and a Mac 10, which they should know is in effect because it's going to be a bonus. I like going for a FAMAS to prioritize utility as well, and most importantly, LCM going straight for the op with no Kevlar and lackluster utility. There's no kit for the CT side. A lot resting on these duels and a lot resting on top and middle.
What?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It'll answer the call. It'll answer the call for the first, at least.
I was thinking too. I was just gonna say, I felt like that nade was a bit awkward too, because like his teammate threw it for him, did 20 damage against him. I was like, okay, it's a little weird
because he has no armor.
Oh, true.
So it's a very risky call. Smoke goes up, and still he finds the shot through it. Ninjas, though, it's his turn to be a criminal. Through the smoke kill go, good for 1. The second time around, though, BB is not going to be fooled, not going to be misled. So Reba towards CT spawning. A disappointing start to this map, but he's starting things off well in half number 2. Running another combining fire with his team. It's 2 for 1. Okay, Happy doubling down. A 1v3 on the docket. LCM has that op, as we mentioned, no Kevlar. So if he gets shot first by this Galil, the round could be done and dusted. Galorys could steal this one away from what was a very solid defense.
Yeah, it's a oh, what? Okay. LCM gets the corner of on the default box, finds Hap, but man, again, like, a good point you bring up, because Hap's been somebody that we talked a lot about. I mean, even just there, like even on Ancient too, right? I was able to find some multi-kills and some really, really unfortunate situations, but still was able to come out shining pretty bright. Even just there, like finds double with a Galil and pretty much a situation that shouldn't have happened. But that's what's been so interesting about Hap is just, again, winning these engagements that really are not favorable, but does a good job of just making connections, but it's just not enough. But either way, despite that going into a 1v1, it does, again, earn the economy here for the CT side. Yes, they keep the AWP, but again, they've had to spend a ton of dollars on this. And you can see there's an MP9 on the board. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love an MP9, but it's definitely not going to be favorable in certain situations on this map, though.
It's not, and it was a bonus for Galorys to step down to a 1v1 with a bomb plant. Sure, they could have felt like they could have won the round. That might sting a little bit, but given what they had brought into the round versus what Solid had, they definitely got their mileage out of those weapons. As you mentioned, the CT side economy hamstrung. There's still no kit in play. MP9 is present. Their utility's less than ideal. They have a good amount of smokes left, but still far from ideal for Solid with which to mount this comeback. Mid control heavily emphasized for Galorys once more. 4 players here lining up into its connector. 1 player towards ramp and Koala. Perhaps to distract while Wolf can take them through towards connector. Spray in towards stairs, and Ninjas gets control again. The spear point towards jungle deep. Swings come through. Hoax finds the first. GV a double in response, but Detroit finds that. Sureba lurking, biding his time towards Tetris. That MP9 sings, finding a double. Ninjas is the one now in the clutch. A 1v3. Past the first hurdle with ease, but he walks right into that waiting crosshair of LCM on Catwalk, who will not miss at that range. Solid. Secure a 6th. Begin to build something now on their defense on Mirage.
Well, and that's what we were kind of talking about, right? I mean, again, for a team like Galorys, like their CT side was the bread and butter, right? Like that is statistically the better side they are. They sit at a 43% win rate on this side, on this map. So we're kind of getting a little bit of that picture right now because we're starting to see Solid. They sit at about a 51.8 on their CT side, and they're starting to look a lot better, right? They're starting to look a little bit more comfortable finding these engagements. It's been scrappy though. Like let's not get away from that, but it's still a bit of a buffer right now from Galorys. They still have the 4 round. They don't have any investment really except for a couple pistols. That's it though. They've kept that money tight. So if they can get a couple kills and the bomb down, honestly, that's gonna be a really good landmark for them to hit on this.
It would be. There's pistols for Galorys in this round. Eagle, I think that 2 and a P250 are invested, so that could do some damage. They're second guessing their original strategy. They sat in apartments. That smoke makes them think better of it, however. They'll all fall back. No information given to Solid, who got a little bit antsy sooner rather than later. Jump cross is on the docket for this T side. No one's actually challenging down middle, however. It's playing in jungle passively. That is Ale tucked in towards jungle cubby. Steps heard now. 30 seconds left. Galorys has to get a move on. It's just pistols after all. No reason to save. They aren't actually committing anywhere yet.
No, they're burning so much time. Like they really are. Okay, but sure, getting opening duel. Okay, that's fine. Again, the lack of armor could be a bit of a cost here, but okay. What? Okay, so now another P250 kill coming in. This is just, again, just the awkward fights, these weird engagements. In a situation that's not looking great. The plant's coming in. They should have enough time. They will not. No, they're not even going to have this round at all. That's going to be a round coming in for the CT side.
And they stay alive after time.
Oh.
I guess they have rifles at least, so they can buy. They can buy Kevlar and some utility, so it's not as bad as it looks. But again, letting time get away from them, a worrying sign for this T side, who were looking to just get across the finish line with some leisurely pace. Again, they were up 8-4. It's now 10-7. And a wise timeout being called. Again, time got away from them in a round where, realistically, you shouldn't even be thinking. You should be dying immediately. Getting a bomb plant at most and nothing more.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is actually the first time out at all they've called in the previous series and even this one too. So this is very interesting. And now they realize, okay, look, like things are getting a little bit too mucky. This is not great for us. Like we had a 8-round lead. It turned into an 8-4. Now we're talking about a 10-7. And the T side really hasn't looked the greatest. Like, we've seen a lot of individuals kind of step up and, you know, wear the cape and be the hero, but it's just not really there yet. So, I mean, they got a buffer, but man, this is the thing. We talk a lot about momentum. We talk a lot about like the atmosphere of the team, and this is where it starts to get a little bit dicey, right? When things get really, really close like this, it becomes a bit of an issue. But now the CTs are going to get a little bit more aggressive again. They're going to double player in Palace, push through this. They're going to have a ton of information if they actually commit to it, though. LCM's just looking like he's posted up on this. But man, if he pushes through on this, he might be able to get this timing of this execute, because it's one player throwing all the utility right now.
Palace control taking, excuse me, Hall's control for LCM. Gonna pressure forward as well. Just is gonna walk into it. It's all on timing. Nine walks in, not even shouldering. It's caught by that Galil. I just spotted the bomb though, so that would be a little bit of information gained for Solid, but find themselves now on a back foot. Oaks bottom mid is on an island. Was he spotted? His barrel might have been. Nope. Not. Information given away, and Ale caught swinging towards the underpass looking for information as well. Two players losing their lives for information. That's not acceptable at this point. CSO trying to do his best hap impression is caught and traded by the very same. 2 versus 4. GBB and Sureba. GBB getting a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too cocksure. Tries to stymie the plant and throw in a Molotov. He's caught by the op. Sureba, the last, very far removed from this present situation. He'll try to save his rifle for the following. But Galorys, at long last, found the key to an 11.
Yeah, they finally make it look a bit more convincing on this. And honestly, I feel like Solid were kind of the ones that were pressing forward and just trying to get information when they shouldn't have. And like LCM was kind of the first start of the domino. And then I think it was Ale that came in through mid on Con. Like it just, again, just started falling apart here. And even now, that's, I was just thinking maybe knife, but no, realizing that it was going to be a turn and a bit of a flick of the wrist. But yeah, again, 11th round being gained here. Finally here for Galorys, and that's great. But now the CT sides, look at their money. Look at what that's done to them. Nate, that is just, it's trash. It's just garbage.
Sent them asunder. They know they have no choice. They have to go for an investment. They can't give away a 12th, not when there's so many rounds as a goal between these two teams. Scout for LCM, 5-7s for a trio, and Ale CSO and GBB. MP9 for Sureba, who's made that weapon sing in the past. The question is, can he make it sing even more here and now? Because that kind of heroism is required. Galorys, an early commitment towards an A-side execute, perhaps, as smokes rain over. Sureba's going to block the smoke towards stairs. Wise call there. It'll give him a gap to exploit. That brings the MP9 might struggle. Galorys going to commit to this execute. Scaling forward. Both the smokes miss towards jungle. Sureba will exploit that. Ninja's caught. Now Galorys in an awkward spot on site with no smokes to support.
Yeah, this is not a great position because now they're going to try to re-aggress into the CT side. And oh, no, the 5-7 to 5-7! It's just finding multi-kills and even a scout to make it insult to injury. The CTs with the worst purchase in the world, a scramble of a purchase. Man, and now they're sitting in a position of a 4-on-1. Detroit here with the op. Still under a minute, but again, doesn't have the bomb, doesn't have really any control of this round at all. And this might honestly just be playing Survivor, just keeping this op in his hands, conceding defeat for round 19 here. Oh my God, I cannot believe we saw that double kill coming in from CSO. Just played behind, just on the backside of boxes there, or on the pillar by ticket, and finds himself a double that honestly saved them the round.
It was supported by the scout. Very well done from Solid. In making that execute uncomfortable, but not so much so that Galorys fall back and don't commit. They just block the smokes, wait for them to commit in, and then close on them.
Counter-terrorists win.
Round done. Detroit does survive with his op. Solid inching closer. It was a must-win round, and they do pass that first monumental trial.
Yeah. really. I just, again, like, it's just these like scramble rounds that we see, and it's like, what, I don't know which like bingo part, you know, on the card that you find here, but like my god, like I just did not have Solid picking up that round at all, like in my views, in my sights, and they come up big. And those are kind of the rounds you need too, because now, I mean, this is, again, you got the 3 AK, sure, but you can tell there's a ton invested on this. And if Solid find this round too, I mean, this is going to be a, you know, talking about a save, Solid pushing themselves in double-digit territory where it could be a 1-round differential. Boy, it is getting neck and neck on this one. But there's some good control coming in from the T just under window now. So, I mean, at least mid control is theirs for the time being, but the CTs have now boosted themselves up on the B apartments. Double player stack, kind of playing the 2-1-2. Oh, and LA getting a little aggressive, and now this is awkward. He has to get out of this. He just needs to reposition there. Okay, he will survive with his life.
Most important. Again, that aggression ramp from Sudeba. CSO. To here. Fails at the first hurdle. GBB, though, has rotated, as has a compatriot. There are 2 here towards B still, but they're in difficult spots. Ale, the first secured, but more are needed. 35 seconds left. Galorys waiting for over aggression. There's one player in Get Right. He's the one to start things off. He's the one to set off this take. Where is he? Pressure in the apartments comes in. Swing for Hoax, who finds one. Koala as well finds another. Ninjas on the Mac 10 of all things finds yet another. It's just LCM in market. He's normally an opper, but with only an AK in hand, he'll have to keep the team alive, and he will fail. That Mac 10 flank doubles up. And Galorys, after a difficult time in the second half, have at long last secured that point.
Well, we're finally here, and now it's a question if they can get that last round to get across the finish line, to get things done. But look, again, we're in a position where Solid, they've done this before, so I'm not going to say they can do it again, but I'm not saying they can't do it again. So I'm not having caster cursing right now, but this is a position right now where Galorys have to be very careful how they do this, because I think we saw before, kind of fell asleep at the wheel a little bit. They drifted off, and they got punished for it. So, I mean, this is still a position where they need to take it step by step, inch by inch on this one. And even right now, the CT side, they're doubling in window. They're trying to do a bit of a mid crunch, and I kind of like this, because if they can find Hoax, that can be a free rifle gained.
Yeah, I think an isolated duel. Question is, will they drop towards underpass immediately after that kill? Will they be confident there's not a second one lurking? Top of the smoke, LCM gets a tag with the scout. The 5-7 though, not finish what it started. It's caught through the smoke as it re-emerges. App another onto CSO, and it feels like Solid have finally met their match. They put up a good fight in the second half, but it's not enough. The MP9 on Catwalk, it's a dink, but not a kill. Hoax finds yet another onto GBB. Solid being picked apart. Slowly yet surely, Suraba pushing forward, finds nothing. Ninjas drops LCM in the meanwhile, and Galorys secures map number 2, 13-8, to split the series 1-1 in even fashion.
Yeah, honestly, still very impressive, I think, from both these teams, right? I mean, we got to see Solid looked really good on Ancient. They took it pretty dominantly. And then, honestly, even though that we saw, you know, a Mirage, like Galorys putting themselves in an 8-0, Solid came back. They had that second wind. They got 4 in a row. They started making things really, really competitive. Got some rounds that they probably shouldn't have, and they made this thing competitive. It looked like Galorys were going to take this thing pretty convincingly, but honestly, it was a big fight.
Yeah, it was. I would say overall, I am more impressed, I think, by Solid. They were the team on the back foot, lower ranked overall, a far more dismal record. It was, what, 9-11 thus far for Galorys versus 5-11 for Solid. Yet they came out the gate swinging. I think overall, they looked really good on Ancient, looked a little more lost on Mirage. A very slow start on that first half really did not help them. If they could get those reads a little bit earlier, because they really had the read by the end, then it would be an entirely different game. But I feel like the groundwork's there, and I feel like I am pleasantly surprised more so by Solid than I am by Galorys.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that was what I was kind of mentioning on the desk in the beginning too, right? I was saying like, look, like Solid in the beginning of the season, they had all these close games, whether it was a win or a loss. I mean, they either went to 13-11s or they went into overtime or double overtime. So that's where I was kind of saying like they really are competitive. They just couldn't get the win factor done. And that was the biggest thing against them. And I think even just now we still got to see them go 1-1 in the two separate series, but they made this Mirage game way more interesting than we thought it was going to be, because I think we both thought that they had this game in their hands. They lost control of it, but then they came back and they made it pretty close, all things considered.
Yeah, a little bit close, but close is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades. Unfortunately for them, they will split series. I think that really encapsulates what we said about ECL SA. If you're not in those top 5 teams, you're kind of scrapping with the rest, and that very much is on display here. Solid and Galorys splitting series to end the day 1-1. Again, 13-6 for Solid on Ancient, 13-8 for Galorys on Mirage. But that will conclude our broadcast for the day. On behalf of my co-commentator Laz, the production crew, and of course myself, Pineapple Phillips, I bid you a good night. Take care, and we'll see you next week for some more ECL action.
Bye-bye.